John, we just talked about CMMC and you kept repeating a phrase of maturity over compliance, I believe is what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And you said something else earlier about being affordable and approachable for the non-enterprise customer. So when you combine those two things, how do you make it approachable and affordable? Because when you read the CMMC guidance, which changes every 20 minutes,
Right.
it looks like a huge mountain. So what would you say to that SMB, the small to mid-sized business who's like, whoa, where do I start?
Yeah. So when you're thinking about CMMC, you really want to reset your brain and think about it from the perspective of what am I trying to secure, right? What is the end goal here? I'm securing sensitive information, right? Confidential, unclassified information, CUI. That is the goal of the program. So any emails, any documents that I'm getting, I have to make sure that I have a framework set up where I'm tracking that information as it flows through my company. So if you think about CMMC from that perspective and you limit the scope of your thought process to that boundary, it becomes a little bit more easier to get your head around exactly how expensive it could be when you're a really large company, but how affordable it really could be if you're talking about, hey, I'm a janitorial services company. I work for the DoD. I've got a small contract. Maybe it's $25,000 a month. That's not a lot of money. I can't go out and pay for a large cybersecurity firm to become CMMC compliant. So how can I be CMMC compliant? CMMC accreditation body is making it easy for people with level 1 compliance needs to do a self-attestation. As a CMMC registered practitioner, there are no specific requirements around how much you should charge. So you can actually get very creative with your rate structure as an SMB. And so based on the scope, you can charge a percentage of what the overall contract is. So I might go to a janitorial services company or a company that like a bakery making cookies for the DoD and say like, look, you really should be budgeting 1% of your overall contract net income into cybersecurity, right? So I'm going to charge you half of that 1% so that you can maintain the program. And it really becomes a budgeting exercise that you do with that client, right? You want to make it affordable, but you also want to be compensated accordingly, but you don't want it to be so unapproachable. And when you think about it from the perspective of scope, then you can really put some hard limits around what it is that you're actually thinking about from a security perspective. So instead of emails, the bakery might just be getting, invoices from the DoD, and those invoices might be considered classified because of what is on the invoice. So having a secured filing cabinet where those documents live and making sure that those documents don't ever get scanned, photographed, and that you have a good access control around that is all that you really would need to do to make sure that that specific classified document was secure. So you can do that relatively affordably, and you can write policies and procedures that show that there are controls and guidelines in place for that bakery in order for them to show to a auditor that they're doing the best that they can do to protect the information that they have. And I think every auditor that comes down the line is going to have a lens from which they say, okay, like you're not Lockheed Martin, you're a cupcake company. And so we're going to approach it from a level of sensibility as well. And that's where the maturity part of the maturity model comes into play. It's okay for CUI or classified information to be in places where it shouldn't be, but it's not okay for you to not know that it's in a place where it shouldn't be. So long as you have the framework in place so that you, in the checks and balances, so that when something is put in the wrong place, you're putting it in the right place, and you have that historical reference that you've done that thing. That's what they're looking for. That's right. That's what they're looking for. And it can be done very affordably if you think about it in that way.
We pay so much taxes because apparently DARPA's buying too many damn cookies.
There you go. There you go.